Well, hello and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn, and my incredibly special guest, the wonderful, the Reverend Canon Roger J. Hall, MBE. How are you doing, Roger?
Good morning, Andrew. I'm doing very well indeed, thank you. Life is good. Busy but good at the moment. Doing lots of reorganising of things that should be happening in the chapel at the moment.
Excellent. Well, talk about things that should be happening in the chapel. I mean, it's a glorious chapel. I've spent many happy moments there and I've been missing it dreadfully. But apart from the Sunday services and the glorious events that you have there, one of the things that happened in lockdown are weddings and how that has changed. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest privileges of being a priest, I think, is these what we call the rites of passage. It's conducting baptisms, for example, funerals, and of course weddings as well. And for me, one of the highlights of my 30 plus years of ministry has been conducting weddings. I really enjoy them. I take wedding preparation quite seriously. And at the same time, when you get a couple come up this aisle here, right in front of me here in the chapel, I'll just turn the camera around slightly as they walk up that aisle there to face me. It's one of the greatest privileges of being a priest. But this last year has been absolutely pandemonium because of the lockdown. We had a very small window in September and October when we could conduct weddings here, but the vast majority of weddings last year were either cancelled or postponed. And at this moment I'm renegotiating the weddings that should have taken place last year into this year, and of course trying to accommodate the weddings that should be taking place this year. And on top of that, there are one or two people who've just decided in that window again to get married, perhaps at a registry office, and then come back here for a service of blessing, which the wedding, it's almost identical to a wedding, to a full wedding marriage service, but it's obviously a service of blessing. So I've been trying to negotiate all of that in the last few weeks. And the biggest difficulty, of course, are the ones that were cancelled last year. And I've got two weddings, two lovely young couples who are now on their fourth date for trying to get their marriage reorganized and tie it in with their reception and their guests and with their family. And of course, with all the travel restrictions that are on at the minute and not knowing whether they'll be able to have 15 people, 30 people or a normal wedding, whether they'll be allowed to have music. All these things are weighing down upon them as they prepare for their marriage. And I feel desperately sorry, really do. I feel really desperately sorry for all these young wedding couples. You think about you and myself when we got married, and I'm sure you're same as me.
Not to each other.
We didn't have any of these dramas. It was difficult enough at the best of times, but when you've got all this to deal with, it makes it really hard.
Oh no, absolutely. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's not just, I mean, sometimes the wedding is not just about the couple, is it? It's about the extended families, the families coming together, friends together. And it's a tremendous occasion. And the planning and preparation happens months, sometimes years in advance, doesn't it?
Yeah. We have, we've always done a mixture of weddings here, which is I really, really like. We've had some very small, intimate weddings here. People are always quite surprised at that when I tell them, I've done a wedding here when there's just been 12 people. There's just been the bride, the groom, the best man, a couple of bridesmaids and the immediate family. And that's been it. To a wedding here when, it took a week to prepare the chapel almost for it. We were absolutely, full to the rafters. Because we're a royal chapel, we've had weddings here where members of the royal family have been present for the wedding of somebody here. I've had those wonderful occasions when I've stepped up here to take the wedding. I've had so many flowers up here. It's felt like the botanical gardens or like Kew Gardens. I've had to sort of poke my head around a plant to try and find my way into seeing people. Also had some amusing moments here, not hurtful moments, but just amusing moments. There was one young couple where the groom said he was going to have his best friend as his best man, but it wasn't a best man, it was a best lady. And the rehearsals all went well and all was really, really good. And then on the day of the wedding, as the bride and groom came up and his best woman came to stand beside him, she had the most enormous hat you've ever seen in your life on. And he turned round her and looked at her, and there was a sort of moment of silence, and in a rather loud voice said, "Oh, I now see what happened to the Millennium Dome." And we all fell about laughing, you know. Unfortunately, she had a good sense of humor as well. Yeah. But it's always important not to upstage the bride, as I wanted to say to this lady.
I mean, talking about advice, yeah, talking about advice, Roger, I mean, it's quite a nerve-wracking time for the couple. What do you say to them in the preparation for the wedding?
As far as the actual wedding is concerned, the bit of that I always tell every couple when they hear the night before is that I want them to come here and enjoy their wedding. I am the master of ceremonies. I am responsible for everything. When they come to the rehearsal, they don't have to remember anything. They just go through it so there are no surprises on the day. All I want is for them to turn up on the day and have a really happy, happy day. Nothing would, you know, I think it's nothing sadder than meeting a wedding couple who tell you that, you know, they were so nervous on the day of their wedding, they can't remember any of it and all the rest of it. And I think, well, you know, in that case, the vicar was at fault, because the vicar should have said to them, you know, I'm responsible for everything. You just turn up here and have a lovely day. Of course, there's a bit of nervousness, but I think once they actually get up here and they get my friendly smile and looking at them, you know, you know, I try to do it in the chapel rule here, everything with dignity, but with a smile on our face. And I always tell them they're here with the people that love them most, who care about them most. You know, nobody's out here to trip them up. So relax and enjoy it, you know, and have a lovely, lovely day. And that's
there is always that moment in wedding ceremonies when they say, if anybody here knows reason why these two shouldn't get together. Have you ever had anybody object?
No, thankfully. And of course, it's legally, of course, it's really tricky, because of course, you know, in lots of churches where they read the banns of marriage, you know, out for 3 weeks before, gives people the opportunity to say whether they're, you know, he shouldn't be marrying her, he's marrying his auntie, or, you know, they're still married or whatever. What we have a lovely tradition, because one of the people who can, groups of people who can get married here are soldiers from the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. And always a question is, can they bring, for all their guests, and particularly their fellow officers, for example, can we bring our swords into church? So when I stand up and say, does anybody know any reason why these two people may not be joined together in holy matrimony? The officers all stand and they draw out their swords, just about 4 or 5, not allowed to take it right out, you know, and that always makes everybody, you know, have a big smile on their face. And I think that's a lovely tradition. Some clergy wouldn't be happy about swords in church, but you know, they're ceremonial and they're not for any other reason.
I know, and we love that sort of stuff. So people sitting at home, and there'll be a number of couples who are longing to have their wedding day. What advice? It's still uncertain as to when we might be able to come back. What advice would you give them?
I think to go ahead, to get planning. That's what I'm saying to all my couples here. And what we're doing here is we're having plan A and plan B. Plan A is a very small wedding. If when we get to the next stage through the lockdown, that weddings can resume with small numbers, as they were before in September, October with 15, you should plan on that. But equally, you should have a plan B, which is a normal wedding with the whole shooting match. But if you're at the stage where, you know, you think, gosh, this is going to go on, I think most of my couples say to me, we just want to get married. We want to be, you know, a family together, you know, married as one. And I say, right, in that case, let's go for it. Let's plan A, but also have a plan B. And I encourage them to get on with it and book their wedding.
And have you ever thought about doing a virtual wedding? Maybe you could have the groom in Zoom. You could work on that basis.
Not allowed to do that in the Church of England, Andrew. Sad. Well, not yet anyway. Who knows what'll happen after all this sort of thing.
Well, maybe we could this could be a new business for us, couldn't we? Zoom and gloom. We could work that out. Oh, we love it. Well, I hope all of those weddings go without a hitch, apart from the one.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
It should be good. Roger, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for being my guest.
Pleasure. See you again.
Take care. Bye-bye. So thank you again to the Reverend Canon Roger J. Hall, MBE, for being my very special guest. And if you are planning your wedding, do let me know. You can write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. And don't forget, you can follow me at Andrew Eborn at Octopus TV and subscribe on all of the usual channels. But for me, for now, thank you. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to, be good, be safe. I'll see you next time. Bye.